Good
Thank
night,
you.
Mrs. Corbin.
Pardon
Yes,
me. Thank you both. Thanks for the welcome.
yes, ma'am. And we are here talking about this cabinet reshuffle, and we are talking about education. And so this is a very strong area for you, an area of deep concern, and you're one of those who felt that I think at some point that something needed to be done with Kay McConney. It's now happening. What are your thoughts about this reshuffling as it relates to the area of education?
Thank you, Marcia. I did indicate to you when we were told that we were going to have the panelists in tonight to discuss these matters that I would reserve my comments to education. But briefly before I do, what I would have observed over yesterday when the was it yesterday, yes, when the news came of the reshuffling,
Mm-hmm.
two scenarios came to mind that I would have grown up with, and I believe, and I greet you, loyal sons and daughters all. Good evening, firm craftsmen of her faith. And Marcia, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but I believe that Nigel would be. I grew up hearing my grandmother saying that when a crapo, and my people out there will know what's a crapo. You know what's a crapo, Marcia?
No.
A crapo is a big frog.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So get the picture. I grew up hearing my grandmother saying, oh, he or she behaves like a crapo. And how does the crapo behave when cornered? According to my grandmother and the fable here, the local fable, when cornered, a crapo, pardon the vernacular, I'm not being disgusting, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
just recalling what I've been told. A crapo raises his leg and pee in your eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Nigel? And
Indeed.
that is
Yes. Yes.
what I
Yes.
saw today, yesterday. I'm cornered, I'm cornered, I'm going to pee in your eye. And what I saw also yesterday was the mashing up of the cricket game, right, Nigel? And again, in the local scenario, we
Mm-hmm.
always hear that game done. If the
Yeah.
game isn't going your way, if cricket isn't going your way,
You
and
pull
you
up the
own the
stumps.
ball, and you own the bat, and you own the stumps, you
Yes.
rip them up, you take them up, game done. And
Yes.
if you could, you would take the pitch with you. And if you start another game, if you start another game,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
you would choose those persons
Yeah.
who played the game your way, who
Mm-hmm.
allowed you to score the runs. And that is what we have been seeing, but it has been made more visible over the last 24 hours, 48 hours, based with this reshuffling. And it was interesting, Marcia, hearing the Honorable Senator Walters speaking. He was looking at my notes here, and I had written big, rewarding Kim McConney for or lack of or for non-performance, for
Mm-hmm.
mashing up the Ministry of Education. And I know persons will be coming for me, but I have been in education since 1974. So I would have come under several ministers of education as well as chief education officer.
Mm-hmm.
And I must, and I've been doing my research, whenever there seems to be a BLP government education gets mashed up. Nothing seems to work in education. And we could look when the now Prime Minister was Minister of Education, the failed edutech.
Yes.
We can look also now when she became Prime Minister, her choice as Minister of Education in 2018. We had Sancher Bradshaw, whom I was told was petulant, reluctant to take up that ministry. Needless to say, I speak empathetically that around that time or soon thereafter, she was unwell. But we were told that she was a reluctant minister of education. And then we brought in Kim McConney. And as you know, I always lauded Miss McConney for what I knew about her and my interaction and engagement with her when she was the manager of the youth entrepreneurial scheme. Yes.
Mhm.
And many persons told me that I was too soft, but I gave time. And then you would hear me thereafter when we continue to get all the poor performance, the non-performance, um, the how the education was being treated. You then heard me saying, look, Prime Minister, retire her. She should resign. Now we are seeing here, Marcia, Nigel, and listeners, that she's being rewarded again. Remember when she was brought in as senator, she was given a ministry.
Yeah.
And apparently she was not good or effective, not let me say good, as effective as she should have been. And my frustration is that the Ministry of Education continues to be a dumping ground.
Yes.
So
Because
you
of
dump.
what they're doing. Yeah.
Yes, so you dump her there because then you can blame the chief, you can teachers will be blamed. So dump in the Ministry of Education, and we know what has or has not happened under the good lady's tenure as
Yeah.
Minister of Education. Now we are seeing Marcia and Senator Walters spoke of it. The Ministry of Education is no longer called the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training. Counter the Bajan expression, lo and behold, unbeknownst to us, and I keep track of these things. The Prime Minister, in announcing the reshuffle, drop it like it hot on us, too hot for us to catch or note what was going on. We learned that it is now called the Ministry of Educational Transformation. What in help me fill in the blank spaces? What does that mean?
Shakwani is saying the new Minister of Education. But is there really a Minister of Education? Just following from what you were saying.
From where I am, I don't think that we no longer have a Ministry of Education. And I would like the Prime Minister and the replacement um, Minister Blackman to explain to us. I think we need to know education for me is the gem of the in the crown. It is the gem, it's the prized gem. I told my husband it's like what the Taj Mahal is to India. And we have been treating it so badly. We cannot be so negligent and ad hoc with education. What do we mean by educational transformation? Is this just another handle for all the narrative and the rhetoric associated with education reform that has failed? Or is this just a stopgap for people to ride out their time, keep people comfortable so that they can get their little pension as they're doing with Kim McConney, shuffling her all around? And we are putting people to hold down some places so we can rally out until when elections are called due 8 years, within 8 years from 2018, so that persons could get their pension. But don't mess with my education. Don't mess with the heartbeat of the nation. Don't mess with it. Please explain to me if the other sections of Barbados don't want the explanation. Someone explain to me who would have dedicated 51 years of my life in retirement and still doing it. What do you mean by the Ministry of Educational Transformation? And honestly, I thought that MP Sandra Husbands would have been handed over the entire ministry as she was brought over from Foreign Affairs to take up I ain't too sure what ministry within the Ministry of Education, what portfolio within the Ministry of Education, the former, may I say, Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training. I think she was more responsible for the the vocational training. And I was anticipating when I heard that Kim McConney was relieved and or asked to resign or be removed fully from any ministry. I thought that Sandra Husbands would have been given the ministerial position for the Ministry of Education. Now again, they have just given her a fancy title, Training and Tertiary Education. What's that? Identify for me the entities that exist within training and tertiary education. How many are there? What is the reach? What is her mandate? I do not like the messing with education. You're not messing with technology. You're messing with minds. You're
Yes.
messing with the future. You're messing with the present because our children within the school system are not waiting for a future down there. Education is enabling their present
Mm-hmm.
to transition into their future. I'm
Into the
not
future, yes.
satisfied with the handling of education. The young gentleman, pardon me, Honorable Chad Blackman, he seems to have a very impressive background as a diplomat and ambassador.
Before your thoughts about that.
Uh, I believe there is, and we have seen as the leader of opposition did say that that's their business. Yesterday, my husband and I, before we heard the announcement, we were in discussion about what's happening in Barbados, our usual discussion, and we looked at the considerations, the things that could happen to cause a shift, a shift nationally and politically in terms of governance. And the last consideration, not necessarily in priority, order um, of priority, we said an implosion. Both
Mm.
of us said it at the same time. And that's what's happening. We are seeing not only cracks, but an implosion, a greater implosion is about to happen. And may speak briefly to
Yes,
the
very
Miss,
brief because I have a caller on. Okay. Yeah.
yes, about Miss Cattle. I would have taught Miss Cattle, Marcia, when she was in class 2. We shared a classroom together and we exchanged, her teacher and myself, we would exchange the teaching of subject matter. Miss Cattle was in class 2, that would be the 8 to 9 age group in 1985. Back then, we always knew that she was um, had qualities that were in which she could assert herself. At 8 and 9, she would dig her feet in and dare to challenge you on what she thought it should be
Mm-hmm.
or what you would have said to her. She was always that type of person to the point of being stubborn. She would stand in front of you and just not respond to you if she felt that she was being unfair, if she felt you weren't being fair, if she felt she wasn't given a chance to express herself. So she was always that type of person. And as I said, her parents, both mother and father, were sticklers for high standards and morals, very strong Christians. So I am not surprised. In fact, you would have heard me say on this forum when we were discussing the cybercrime bill that I am, at times, I was disappointed with Miss Cattle and the position she would take and the trends that I saw in terms of her conduct. She began to be a mini Humphrey and behave with a degree of arrogance. It was creeping in. And
Yes.
I always looked for the Miss Cattle, the Marsha that I knew.
You knew when
And
she was a little girl.
and I am glad that she stood up this time around. And again, she has shown that I represent a person larger and bigger and of more importance than you, Madam
Yes.
Prime Minister. Unmuting. Back to where it started, thank you. I'm asking for an explanation of what is now the Ministry of Educational Transformation. I am wondering also, and Maxine, I don't know if I missed it, if they had the estimates for education presented already, who will sit in the well now to account for the expenditure for the monies voted for, spent, and came back for 2024 to 2025, who will give an account of that? Will Ms. McConney be brought back in to speak to those matters? This will bring us now to what Nigel persists in asking about good governance. Or will Mr. Blackman, will this be his first assignment then to speak to something he's in part of? What will happen? So I'm asking about accountability. Who will represent the ministry, the former Ministry of Education as we knew it? Will it become McConney? And will someone call a press conference and explain explain to the Barbadian public why have they troubled the heart of our nation? Education, not roads, not infrastructure. Why have they troubled education, disbanded it, and not come to the people to explain of that intention? It is not decent.
Yes.
Tell us what is the ministry of transformation.
Yes.
Thank you.